Hello and welcome to this presentation on teachers' knowledge and expertise. Whilst this presentation might be applicable to the areas of primary and secondary school teachers, its focus is in the vocational education and training sector. The presentation is based on the propositions that VET teachers work in an increasingly complex and diverse environment where they're required to make sophisticated pedagogic decisions that meet the needs of a wide variety of learners and clients. This requires professional judgment in practice. It's argued that in order to make such professional judgments, teachers require a full complement of teachers' knowledge bases, and it's through an explicit understanding of these knowledge bases that teachers are able to make their ideas explicit. VET teachers have been required to become more multi-skilled in an environment that is characterised by self-paced approaches to teaching and learning. The introduction of technology has also had an impact. Teachers' work roles broadened and intensified to include greater levels of administration, curriculum and learning materials development, and teaching assessment in a broad range of locations. More recent commentaries suggest that the spectrum of teachers' work in the VET sector will continue to increase, and that there appears to be a continued need for VET teachers to accommodate these changes. Teachers acquire their knowledge from previous education, life experiences, teaching experiences, and ongoing education. This knowledge may be developed in formal environments, such as teacher training programs, but also occurs within the workplace as an informal experience. In moving from being a vocational discipline expert to a teacher, a vocational teacher is required to have two sorts of knowledge bases: a discipline knowledge of their particular craft, such as plumbing, accounting, hospitality, and educational knowledge, which is associated with the field of pedagogy. If we place these two knowledge bases on a 4-square grid, we start to see the relationship between discipline knowledge, educational knowledge, and the role of the individual as either a content expert or pedagogue. In the lower left-hand quadrant, where an individual's discipline knowledge and educational knowledge are limited, they might be described as a novice trainer or instructor. In the upper left-hand quadrant, where an individual has a strong level of discipline knowledge but a weak level of educational knowledge, the individual may well be seen as a content expert rather than an expert teacher. If we look at the lower right-hand quadrant, where an individual has a low level of discipline knowledge and a high level of educational knowledge, this person might be seen as an expert teacher with a low level of content understanding. In this case, the person may be an expert facilitator using the content knowledge of people involved in the educational interaction. Finally, if we consider the person in the right-hand top quadrant who has a high level of discipline knowledge and a high level of educational knowledge, this individual may be seen as the expert pedagogue. They bring together a high level of content knowledge with a strong understanding of the ways in which people learn and how to facilitate that learning. Bringing these 4 quadrants together and considering these in relation to what we know about teachers' knowledge provides a greater level of understanding about how we go about our practice. It's reasonable to suggest that no theorist has been more influential in understanding teachers' knowledge than Shulman. He identified at least 7 categories of teachers' knowledge. They are content knowledge, general pedagogic knowledge, curriculum knowledge, pedagogical content knowledge, knowledge of learners, knowledge of educational contexts, and knowledge of educational ends. Pedagogic content knowledge is described as an amalgam of content knowledge and general pedagogic knowledge. Pedagogic content knowledge is developed over a period of time on the job when teachers work with texts, subject matter, and students in different contexts. It is pedagogic content knowledge that differentiates the novice from the expert teacher. It's the category that most likely distinguishes the understanding of the content specialist from that of the pedagogue. So says Shulman, 1987, page 8. In 1995, Chappell found evidence that vocational teachers do use a range of Shulman's teacher knowledge categories. Building on Shulman, 1987, Turner-Bisset in 2001 proposes 12 knowledge bases of teacher knowledge and explains how these interact in the professional work of the teacher. In this case, pedagogical content knowledge is seen as a unifying concept, an overarching knowledge base that comprises all other knowledge bases, rather than a simple amalgam of content knowledge and pedagogic knowledge. Subject knowledge is divided into two categories. Subject content knowledge is associated with notions of facts, concepts, models and frameworks. Subject syntactic knowledge is associated with the ways through which propositional knowledge is generated and established. Beliefs about subjects relate to how the teacher understands the history and purpose of the subject. Curriculum knowledge is associated with knowledges of programs and resources. General pedagogic knowledge is associated with procedural knowledge about teaching and is largely generic in nature. Knowledge of teaching is associated with beliefs about what constitutes good teaching practice. These tend to be developed at an early age. Knowledge of learners is divided into two categories. Knowledge of learners empirical, which is associated with issues such as age, interest, social nature and behavioural patterns, and knowledge of learners cognitive, which is more associated with learning and theories that inform practice and a knowledge of how learners learn. Knowledge of self combines the personal and professional aspects of the individual, shaping teachers' identity. Knowledge of educational contexts and ends is associated with an understanding of the places and means through which education in a particular sector are undertaken and the ends which are to be achieved. Pedagogic content knowledge is the overarching structure which incorporates all other knowledge bases proposed by Turner-Bisset. Corbin and Thompson, 2001, conducted a research study that interviewed 18 expert teachers in a large rural vocational institution to show that professional teachers draw on a rich and complex knowledge base. These knowledge bases are described as including an understanding of the individual needs and learning styles of learners, technical knowledge and currency, expertise in teaching methodologies, personal attributes, beliefs and values. These findings are consistent with the idea of Turner-Bisset that conceptualising teaching as either knowledge or skill or process is inadequate. To conclude, this presentation has shown that VET teachers are expected to work in a diversity of environments with a diverse group of learners. As facilitators of learning, VET teachers need to make sophisticated pedagogic decisions that are consistent with the needs of learners and clients. It's my proposition that professional VET teachers require a full complement of teachers' knowledge bases in order to be able to practice at an expert level in routine and non-routine situations. Such abilities are consistent with the development of pedagogic content knowledge as proposed by Shulman and also as proposed by Turner-Bisset. In summary, the development of the professional teacher requires education, both formal and informal, experience in practice, and time to develop.